selling the product at 105 rupee. But out of 105 rupee, this is a tax, vertical gap. We got that. Tax is always presented by the vertical gap between two supply curves. So this is going to the government. Assume tax is 10 rupee. Assume tax is 10 rupee. So even though seller is selling the product at 105 rupee in the market, but seller cannot enjoy this entire 105 rupee. Out of that, 10 rupee is going to the government. So seller gets finally only say 95 rupee. 95. Right? So this gap is a tax. This gap is a tax. And we call this PS as price received by seller. Seller receive this 95 rupee, even though market price is 105 rupees. We go to the theoretical diagram. EP is the equilibrium price before tax. EPT is the equilibrium price after tax. So due to tax, remember, market price increases. Market price increases. And PS is a price received by seller after the tax. So we got that this gap is a tax. So keep remember well, the production taxes are charged from the producers. Even though production taxes are charged from the producers, finally, consumer also has to pay tax. Consumer and producer jointly pay tax. So we got that this is the tax burden to consumer and producer. Okay, this is what we learned finally. I think we did the diagram in page number 6. Page number 6, second diagram we did, right? Isuni? Page number 6, second diagram we have done, okay? Diana, have we done the page number 6, second diagram?
Yes, sir.
Right, okay, thank you. Right. Now we need to evaluate the impact of the tax. Basically, you can see when the tax is charged, consumer has a loss. Consumer has to pay some money as tax. That's true. And the producer also lost some money. Right? But remember, loss to consumer and loss to producer is not only the money that the consumer pay or that the producer pay as tax. Consumer producer given a tax to ගෙනෙව ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ පාඩුව. ඊට වඩා පාඩුවක් ඒගොල්ලන්ට සිද්ධ වෙනවා. Right? When you take any kind of policy, remember, either tax or subsidy or whatever. When we take any kind of policy, we have to see whether consumer surplus has been increased or decreased due to that policy. If the consumer surplus has been increased, it is a benefit to the consumer. If the consumer surplus has been decreased, it is a loss to the consumer. That's how we evaluate any policy on the consumer. And again, producer. When you evaluate any producer in any policy on the producer, we consider producer surplus. If the producer surplus has been increased, it is a benefit to the producer. If the producer surplus has been decreased, it is a loss to the producer. So therefore, we need to identify whether consumer surplus has been increased or decreased, and whether producer surplus has been increased or decreased due to the tax. Due to the tax, right? I will just remind regarding consumer surplus. I think you all can remember. Anyway, if you look at the consumer surplus and producer surplus, how to simply identify consumer surplus and producer surplus. Consumer surplus is always depending on the demand curve, right? When you take the demand curve, You take the demand curve at a certain price, assume the price is this. So consumer surplus area above the price, below the demand curve, triangular area, right? This is consumer surplus. If the price decreases, you can see consumer surplus increases. See, consumer surplus is increased if the price decrease. If the price increase, so assume price is now this, the price increase, consumer surplus comes down. Now this is consumer surplus. The price increase, consumer surplus comes down. That's how simply we identify consumer surplus based on the demand curve. Demand curve, right? Like the producer surplus depends on the supply curve. The supply curve. When you select a certain price, say assume this is the price, right? You take a certain price, producer surplus area below the price, above the supply curve, triangular area. This is producer surplus. If the price increases, producer surplus increases, right? If the price decreases, producer surplus decreases. If the price comes down, producer surplus decreases. Okay, now we'll see how to identify consumer surplus and producer surplus when the tax is charged. Look at this. This is a situation before tax. So this is consumer surplus before tax. As I told you, below the demand curve, above the price, triangular area. Consumer surplus before tax. Now the tax is charged by the government. The tax is charged as we got supply decreases and price increases. Now consumer has to pay EPT, which is a higher price. When the consumer pay EPT price, consumer surplus is this. So you can clearly see that consumer surplus comes down due to the tax. Consumer surplus decreases by this area due to the tax. So මෙන්න මේක තමයි consumerට ඇතිවන පාඩුව. අර consumer කියන tax ටික නෙවෙයි ආ. consumer කියන tax ටික නෙවෙයි. consumer surplus එක අඩු වෙලා අනේ consumer surplus එකේ අඩුවීම තමයි consumerට ඇතිවන අවසාන පාඩුව tax එකක් නිසා. Right? So this is a loss to the consumer due to the tax decrease in consumer surplus. Okay, right. Now let's look at the producer. This is producer surplus before tax. මතකනේ? Price එකට පල්ලෙහාන් තියෙන supply curve එකට උඩින් තියෙන triangle එක. A simple idea එකක්. Right. Now we'll see after the tax. This is situation after the tax. So after the tax, market price is EPT, that is true. Even though market price EPT, remember, producer cannot enjoy EPT. Producer get only PS. That means producer receive a lower price. Now producer surplus is based on this PS price. Based on PS price, producer surplus is this. This is producer surplus after the tax. So you can see producer surplus also decreases due to tax. So this is a loss to the producer due to tax. Right? So therefore you can see due to tax, consumer surplus comes down as well as producer surplus also comes down. Simply, this is a joint loss to consumer and producer because of the tax. Right? These two areas represent joint loss to consumer and producer due to the tax. Now, tax is a loss to consumer, tax is a loss to producer, but tax is a gain to the government. Because government can earn tax money. We see how is government benefit. This is a total tax income of the government, right? The tax income is only this area. Out of that, this upper part is paid by consumer as tax. The below part is paid by producer. We got this. This is the total tax. So this is a benefit to the consumer. Sorry, government. Sorry, this is a benefit to the government. Government benefit. Government benefit, right? Now, when you compare loss to consumer, loss to producer, and the government benefit, this is joint loss to consumer and producer. Out of that, this rectangular area is a benefit to the government. From that, this upper part, consumer to government, right? මේ upper part එක consumer ගෙන් රජයට යන සල්ලි ටික. ඒක consumer ට loss එකක්, හැබැයි ඒක රජයට benefit එකක් නේ. මේ below part එක මෙන්න මේ rectangular එක sorry. Second below rectangular producer ගෙන් government එකට යනවා. Right? So therefore, these two rectangular areas are not a matter because someone lost, someone get. Right? The upper part, consumer pay. Government get. Tapi tax kevala. Etika Rajapakshalaට ලැබෙනවනේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ නේ කාටවත් ලැබෙනවනේ හොරකම් කරන්න යන්න නැතේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ නේ නේද ඒගොල්ලෝ හරියට දෙන්න නැතේ නේ right නිසා someone lost, someone gain, no issue. This part also same, someone lost, someone gain. නිසා මේ කොටස් දෙක ඉච්චර ගැටලුවක් නැහැ ආර්ථිකයට. මේ ප්‍රශ්න තියෙන්නේ මෙන්න මේ triangular areas දෙක. This upper triangular, this triangular area is a loss to consumer. It's a loss to consumer, but it is not a benefit to the government. If someone lost, and if it is not a benefit to someone else, consumer to පාඩුවක් ඒ පාඩුව වෙන කාටවත් වාසියක් නෙවෙයි. එහෙනම් ඒක ආර්ථිකයට පාඩුවක්. ඒ වගේ තමයි. This below triangular area, this area. Make it. It is a loss to the producer. No one get it. That is also a loss to the country. So therefore, finally, due to tax, what happened? There's a loss to the country which is given by this triangular area. Right? And we call this as net welfare loss. Because part is a loss to consumer, part is a loss to producer. Again, මිනිස්සුන්ගේ සුබ සාධනය අඩු වෙනවා. මිනිස්සුන්ට පරිභෝජනය කරන්න තියෙන භාණ්ඩ හා සේවා ප්‍රමාණය අඩු වෙනවා. You can see why this triangular become a loss. You can see this triangle is in between these two productions. Simply due to the tax, production comes down. ආර්ථිකයේ නිෂ්පාදනය අඩු වෙනවා. නිෂ්පාදනය අඩු වීම පාඩුවක් නෙවෙයි. නිෂ්පාදනය අඩු වුණාම ඒක ප්‍රොඩියුසර්ටත් පාඩුයි, කන්සියුමර්ටත් පාඩුයි. සමේ ට්‍රයැන්ගල් එක තියෙන්නේ මේ නිෂ්පාදනය අඩු වෙච්ච ප්‍රමාණය. ඔක අපිට මේක පෙන්වන්න පුළුවන්. අපි හිතමු we see how to present this idea using PPC and PPC. Economy was here. Are now the economy is here. B point. Production has come down due to tax. Resources become unemployed. සමහර මිනිස්සුන්ට jobs නැහැ. සමහර lands පාවිච්චි වෙන්නේ නැහැ. සමහර factories වහලා. අනේ වගේ දෙයක් ආර්ථිකයේ සිද්ධ වෙනවා. So loss to the economy. So therefore, finally what happened? The tax created a loss to the economy called net welfare loss. So if you conclude this production tax is a loss to the consumer. Why? Because consumer surplus comes down. Tax is a loss to the producer. Why? Because producer surplus comes down. Tax is a gain to the government. Why? Because government earns some money. Tax is a loss to the country. Why? Because production of the country comes down. Resources become unemployed. Resources become unemployed. Okay, that's our conclusion regarding tax. The ultimate loss to the economy is called net welfare loss. Right, we see this again. Look at this diagram again. Right, now tell me. You have to answer me using this A, B, C, D, E, F, G letters when I ask questions. First, tell me. Which letters represent consumer surplus before tax? Tisuni? Out of the A, B, C, D, E, F, G letters, which letters represent consumer surplus area before tax?
A, B, C, D.
Can you?
A, B, C, D.
All right. A, B, C, D is the consumer surplus before tax. Right? Okay, good. Right. Now tell me, Sandamini, which areas represent consumer surplus after tax? Sandamini. I didn't get your answer. Did you? Sandamini, can you repeat? I mean, consumer surplus after the tax?
Only a part.
Only A, yes. Only A. Only A. After the tax, only A, yes. Then, tell me, Adeni, consumer surplus decreases by which area? Consumer surplus decreases by which area? Adara, consumer surplus decreases by which area, dear? Consumer surplus decreases by which area? Kashi? Consumer surplus decreases by which area?
BCD.
BCD, yes. BCD, consumer surplus decreases by BCD. So these are final loss to consumer. Right. Then tell me, Produces surplus before the tax. Kaudimi G2344. Is it your code? Who has logged in the name G2344? Rename, please. Fiona, produces surplus before tax. Fiona, which area represent? Produces surplus before tax. Diana, produces surplus before tax.
E, F, and G.
Ah, yes. EFG. Produces surplus before tax, EFG. EFG. Then Dylan, produces surplus after tax, dear. Produces surplus after tax, which area? If you listen when I was explaining, you can get it. Dhyanga? Produces surplus after tax, which area? Okay, yes, answer is G, right. G, okay, right. Then Chamindi, can you tell me which area represent government tax revenue? Government tax revenue is given by which area? Chamindi. Government tax revenue.
B, C, and F.
Can you repeat?
B, C, and F.
Ah, yes. Ah, yes. BCF is the government tax revenue. This is government tax revenue. Okay. Anuja, which area represent then net welfare loss to the country due to tax? Anuja. Which area represent net welfare loss due to tax? Anuja? Jamila?
So E and D.
Ah, D and A, yes. Final loss to the country we call net welfare loss. Okay. These are the things that you should know basically. And you should be able to calculate all of these what we discussed. Consumer surplus before tax, after tax, producer surplus before tax, after tax, the government tax income, the net welfare loss, or we should be able to calculate all these. So to do calculation, we should know what the areas, right? ABCD can consumer surplus before tax මතක නැත්තම් කොහොමද calculations කරන්න බෑනේ නේ. දැන ගන්න ඕනේ. හරියට දැන ගන්න ඕනේ. නැත්නම් calculations කරන්න බෑ. Calculations are based on theory. If you don't know the theory, you can't do the calculations at all. These are highly focused on calculations other than theory. Without having proper understanding regarding the theoretical diagram, you can't do calculations. Right? Okay, let's draw this graph there in next page. That's in page number 7, right? Page number 7. Let's go step by step. Draw first demand supply curves like this. Page number 7, top diagram. Page number 7. Page number 6 we didn't do, isn't it? Huh? We didn't do the page number 6. Others, can you reply? Oh, sorry, I thought we have done. That's why I asked. Someone said yes. So then I could have explained. Page number 6, none of the diagram we did. Jamila?
No, sir.
Oh, sorry. I thought we have done. Extremely sorry. So give me a second to give me a second. Right, okay. Look at this diagram again. Look at this diagram again. Now this is the market equilibrium before the tax. Assume price is 10 and the quantity is 100. Price is 10 and the quantity is 100. Now the tax is charged. When the tax is charged, what is the first change taken place in this diagram? Supply decreases, so supply curve shifts to the left. Right? Supply curve shift to the left. Now, when the supply decreases and supply curve shift to the left, as we have learned in demand supply, when the supply decreases, keeping demand constant, market price increases. Now you can see market price increases from 10 to 12. That means market price increases by 2 rupee. Right? Market price increases by 2 rupee. But remember, tax is not 2 rupee. Tax is this vertical gap entirely. We learn tax is a vertical gap between two supply curves. So you can see tax is more than 2 rupee. So assume tax is 4 rupee. So tax is rupiah 4. But market price is very rupiah 2 right? Seller, producer, rupiah 4 tax given. But given market price is very rupiah 2. That means seller pass only 2 rupee to the consumer. And the balance 2 rupee producer pay. Out of the 4 rupee tax, seller pass 2 rupee to the consumer by increasing price. The balance 2 rupee producer pay. So when the producer get 12 rupee from the market, out of that 4 rupees going to the government. So producer get finally only 8 rupee. You might feel, why the producer pass only 2 rupee to the consumer? Tax is 4 rupee. Even though tax is 4 rupee, market price increases only by 2 rupee. The producer rupiah 2 pass karani consumer ta. The rupiah 2 producer givano. I producer hema karani. I producer uchara consumer ta adari. I consumer volume producer tax given rupiah 2. Why producer pay part of the tax without passing it to consumer entirely? You can answer. Can anyone send me the answer? The tax is 4 rupee as per this example. But the producer increased market price only by 2 rupee. That means out of the 4 rupee tax, producer pass only 2 rupee to the consumer. Producer paid 2 rupee. Why does producer? Otherwise, the consumer will not buy the good, okay? Idea is there. I'm answer ka kivya. Ano ba answer ka haritam? A producer සම්පූර්ණ tax එක consumer ට pass කරන්නේ නැතුව producer tax එකෙන් ටිකක් ගෙවලා ටිකක් විතරක් consumer ට pass කරන්නේ. A producer consumer ට ඔච්චර ආදරේ. හරියටම answer එක theoretical answer එකක් ආව නෑ මට තාම. Theoretical answer එකක් ඕන මට. Anyone please? Oh, why producer needs to avoid the burden to consumer? ඒක මං අහන්නේ. ඇයි consumer ට ඔච්චර producer ආදරේ? I need a theoretical answer. If the price increases by higher amount, what happens? The demand quantity comes down. Demand එක producer consumer band එක ගන්නෙ නේ. The consumer band එක ගන්න නැති වුණාම producer පාඩු consumer නැති වෙනවානේ. නිසා producer tax එකක් ගෙවලා consumer තියා ගන්නවා. Right? Oh yes, the answer is correct. To keep the demand constant. Demand එක price එක ගොඩක් වැඩි කරොත් demand එක ගොඩක් අඩු වෙනවා. නිසා demand එක අඩු නොවි පවත්වාගෙන යන්න තමයි producer tax ටිකක් ගෙවන්නේ. So keep remember well, when a tax is charged, production tax is charged, right? Finally, part of the tax is paid by consumer and the part of the tax is paid by producer. We call this as tax incident. So therefore, this is the tax incident. This upper part is a tax paid by consumer. This is the tax paid by consumer. B is the tax paid by producer. So consumer and producer jointly pay the tax. Consumer and producer jointly pay the tax. Right? If you look at this figure-wise diagram, look at here. The tax is 4 rupee. Market price increases from 10 to 12. That means consumer pay this 2 rupee. 2 rupee into 80. So consumer has to pay this amount as tax. This is consumer tax burden. 2 into 80. And the producer got 10 rupee early before the tax. Now producer get only 8 rupee. So producer lost this 2 rupee into 80. So this is tax paid by producer. We call this as tax incident. How does tax go to consumer and producer? Or how the tax is paid by consumer and producer? Okay, right. Now page number 6, first diagram on the top. First diagram, wait, draw this one. Sorry, wait. We'll go step by step, draw this one. Page number 6 on the top, first diagram. Then shift the supply curve to the left, parallelly to S. The starting point, you can start at any point. But you have to do, you have to shift the supply curve to the left parallelly. EP වලින්ම පටන් ගන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. ඕන තැනකින් පටන් ගන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි curves එක parallel වෙන්න ඕන. S and ST. Then mark the new price and the quantity EPT and EQT. New price is EPT, new quantity is EQT. Then mark this price called price received by seller. And show that this gap is tax, unit tax. Sorry. And show that price increases from EP to EPT. Put an arrow from EP to EPT and EQ to EQT. Price increases and quantity comes down. Right, then on the right hand side, after the wordings, write down the terms. Even after the graph, you can write if there's a space, or right hand side, there's a space after the wording. Write down their terms. Write down EP equals equilibrium price before tax. EP equals equilibrium price before tax. EPT equals equilibrium price after tax. PS equals price received by seller after tax. PS equals price received by seller after tax. Then EQ equals equilibrium quantity before tax. Equilibrium quantity before tax. Then EQT equals equilibrium quantity after tax. EQT equals equilibrium quantity after tax. Right, then in the space given below, same page, the second space, draw the same diagram again. Page number 6, in the same page, the below space, left-hand side, draw the same diagram again. Okay. Then mark these two areas as tax burden to consumer part A and part B is tax burden to producer. Right, then on the right hand side is space. Write down these wordings there, terms there. Right hand side is space. Okay, right. Now the next page, draw this diagram again. Wait. Right. Wait. Right. Draw this one in the next page. Page number 7. Right. Now, in this case, in this diagram, you need to start the second curve, second supply curve at EP. මොකද අපේ graph එක ඔක්කොම එක විදිහකට තියෙන්න ඕන නිසා හරි නැත්නම් EP වලින්ම පටන් ගන්න ඕනේ නෑ second curve එක. අපි මේ graph එකේ second curve එක EP වලින් පටන් අරගෙන parallel අඳින්න. Starting at EP and it should be parallel to S. New supply curve ST. Right, then mark new price and the quantity EPT and EQT. So that price increases from EP to EPT and the quantity comes down from EQ to EQT. Then mark price received by seller PS. The PS is here when you come down this line, right? You can see it line cross previous supply curve at this point. එතනින් තමයි PS ගන්නේ. Then put these letters there. Show that unit tax and put these letters there. හරියට දාන්න වරද්දන්න නැතුව. Then look at the end of the page, you can see impacts on consumer කියලා තියෙනවා. Right. එතන fill කරන්න මේ ටික. Graph is okay. Then impact on consumer. Consumer surplus before tax ABCD. Consumer surplus after tax A. So change in consumer surplus, what do we do? A minus ABC. Always when you find the change, deduct the original one from the new one. A minus ABCD. You get the answer minus BCD. That means consumer surplus has come down. So we call it is consumer loss. Right, fill this under the consumer surplus. Wordings are there, you have to put the letters only. A, B, C, D, A. Right, then the right hand side impact on producer is there. Look at here. Then producer surplus before tax EFG, after tax G. So change G minus EFG. You get the answer minus EF. That means producer loss. For this, same place, right hand side, impact on producers. And then a producer surplus. Wording sina harita walang ya. Producer surplus. Then go to next page. Impacts on government KLT. Right? Total tax revenue. Government benefit tax revenue. Tax revenue api unit tax multiplied by equilibrium quantity after tax. Write down this under that impact on government. Right. Okay. Look at the screen for a while. Now we are going to combine these losses and gains. We got that consumer had a loss, producer had a loss, and the government had a gain. So what do? We add these losses and gains. Government gain, added consumer loss, added producer loss. දැන් හිතන්න පුළුවන් අපි loss එකක් add කරන්න කියලා. දැන් අපි හිතමු මෙහෙම අපි හිතමු ඔයගලන්ට +5 and -3 එකතු කරන්න ඕන. ලියන්නේ කොහමද ඔයගොල්ලෝ? +5 නේ 5 plus -3 කියන්නේ. එහෙමනේ ලියන්නේ නේද? එහෙනම් plus. හැබැයි ඊළඟ ස්ටෙප් එකේදී loss එකක් වෙනවා. minus වෙනවා. එනවනේ. හරි? The original equation ලියන්නේ consumer government gain plus consumer loss plus producer loss. So in the next step, consumer loss become negative, producer loss become negative. Now remove the bracket. You get BCF minus B minus C minus D minus E minus F. Now you can see plus B minus B set off, plus C minus C set off, plus F minus F set off, remaining minus D and minus E. We write it like this: minus within bracket D plus E, That's a ultimate impact to the economy. We call this as net welfare loss or dead weight loss or efficiency loss. Right? All the terms refer the same idea: net welfare loss, dead weight loss, or efficiency loss. Right? We complete this under the net welfare effect. Write all the things starting from the equation. Then draw this diagram again in the space below to show only net welfare loss. For the diagram, there we present net welfare loss separately in this diagram because we need to understand it clearly. Net welfare loss area. Draw it again in the space given below. Okay, Mandara, wait. After this one, I will put it. Right. Now, we need to calculate this triangular area. You can see, look at the screen. You can see this triangular is in between these two prices. Right? In between these two prices. So this is the vertical gap of this triangular. Right? And this is a horizontal gap. So what we simply do, we multiply this vertical gap into horizontal gap. Then you get this rectangular area entirely. Ready? Taking half the main triangular. So the vertical gap is unit tax. Unit tax. Horizontal gap is change in equilibrium quantity. Unit tax multiply karnawa change in equilibrium quantity valing and divided by 2. That's the equation to calculate net welfare loss. And an equation like a unit tax into change in equilibrium quantity over 2. Because sometimes you are supposed to find this answer in MCQs. So you should be able to get the answer quickly using an equation like this. Write the equation also there. Right. Page number 4 wala graphic akala tibba. Page number 4 the Madara, you asked page number 4, right? 5 or 4? 5, no? Right. Okay. Wait. Page number 5. 5 graphic make what I. Page number 5, there is no graph here. Page number 5, no graphs. Page number 5, these are the equation left hand side. Page number 5, no graph. The second space, these are the equations on the left hand side. On the right hand side, The right hand side, this is calculation and the table completed. The right hand side. Page number 5 doesn't have graphs. Right, okay. Right, now go to next page, page number 9. Page number 9, there's an example given to you. Now, when you are given the graph like this, we should be able to identify all what we discussed. That means we should be able to identify consumer surplus, producer surplus, government tax income, everything. Right? Okay. First, we look at this diagram. What is this 10 price? How do we name this 10 price here? Isuni, what is this 10 price? How do we call it?
Equilibrium price.
Equilibrium price before tax, yes, EP. EP කියලා දාගන්න. EP. Shara, how do we name 12? Price 12? Shara, how do we name price 12? What price is it? Shara? Sandamini, how do we name 12? Hurry up. Sandamini, how do we name 12 price? Equilibrium price after tax. Price after tax. You need to talk. Then Amit, how do we name 8? Price 8?
Price received by
All right.
seller.
Price received by seller after tax. PS. Mark them. Mark them there. EP, EPT, and PS. Then this 100 is equilibrium quantity, right? EQ. And this 80 is equilibrium quantity after tax. EQT. Right? ඔය දින figures ටික මුලින්ම තේරුම් ගන්න ඕන. මම මේ දීලා තියෙන figures කියලා. Right. Now look at the diagrams given one by one below. First diagram, another message. All right, okay. First diagram. අපි පෙන්නන්න ඕන consumer tax burden. පල්ලා වෙනම diagram එකක් ඇති. ඒකේ consumer tax burden. So we need to present consumer tax burden area. Consumer tax burden area is this. මෙතියෙන් මෙන්න මේ area එක. ඒක highlight කරලා arrow එකක් දාලා පෙන්නන්න value එක 2 into 80 rupees 160. Consumer pay 2 rupee for 1 unit and consumer has to pay the tax for 80 units. So total tax paid by consumer is rupees 160. Right. First diagram below. Each and everyone separate diagrams are there. Consumer tax burden, first one. Then the second one, producer tax burden, right? Can ban kiya the kiya producer tax burden, tell me the value. Jamila, producer tax burden, how much is it?
So 160.
Yes, same value, 160. So mark the area and show the value. This is producer tax burden. Highlight the area and show the value, 160. Right. Then the next one, third diagram shows consumer surplus before tax. Okay, we see consumer surplus before tax. Consumer surplus before tax is this area. This area. And the value, how to get the value? Another consumer surplus equation. Can ban consumer surplus on equation? Tianga? Equation to calculate consumer surplus. Fiona, equation to calculate consumer surplus. Madara. Oh. Isuni, equation to calculate consumer surplus.
16 minus 10 into 100 divided by 2.
Okay, right. The values are okay. I need the theoretical equation. Theoretical equation. Jamila, theoretical equation to calculate consumer surplus.
Maximum price minus equilibrium price divide by into equilibrium quantity divide by 2.
Right, but I asked you to keep not the equilibrium price in your mind, not the equilibrium quantity because it can differ. I asked you the equation like this: maximum demand price minus price paid by consumer into demand quantity divided by 2. Because I will show you there are a lot of instances where consumer has to pay not the equilibrium price. A lot of instances are there, consumer has to buy not the equilibrium quantity. So always keep remember like how price paid by consumer and the consumer always buy demand quantity 100. Right, okay. Mark the area and show the calculation. Consumer surplus area is this. This is consumer surplus before the tax. Right. The next one. What is the question? Yeah, Madara, I have not given you as equilibrium price. Right. I'll tell you why. In this diagram, this 10 is equilibrium price. That's true. In this diagram, this 100 is equilibrium quantity. That's true. But remember, there are a lot of instances where consumer has to pay some other prices than equilibrium price. So, we have equilibrium price කියලා මතක තියාගත්තොත් equilibrium quantity කියලා මතක තියාගත්තොත් ඒ equation එක හැම අවස්ථාවකම පාවිච්චි කරන්න බැහැ. අපේ syllabus guide එකේ mistake එකක්. syllabus guide එකේ තියෙන මේ equation එක විතරයි. නිසා teachers හදන්නේ මේ equation එක විතරයි. හැබැයි ඒ equation එක පාවිච්චි කරලා හැම අවස්ථාවකම consumer surplus හොයන්න බෑ. මම unit 3 වලම ඔප්පු කරලා පෙන්නන්නම් ඒක. හරි? Right. Okay. When consumer surplus after tax then area එක mark කරලා අර විදිහටම ඔයන්න value එක send me the answer value. Right, okay. Jamila correct. Tiana correct. Fiona, Fiona, can you check it again? Shara correct. Right, Jisuni correct. 160, right? Bianca correct? Yes, 160. 16 minus 12 into 80 over 2. 160. Then produces surplus before tax. Right. අන්න බලන්න area එක mark කරලා අර විදිහට හොයන්න බලන්න. area එක පැන්සලෙන් mark කරන්න දැනට. And find the value produces surplus before tax. Produces surplus before tax. Mark the area using the pencil and show the calculation like we did in consumer surplus case. Okay, one answer has come. Right, good. Diana correct. Madara correct. Sisuni correct. Priyanka, correct? Yes, 300, good. Area is this. This is the producer's surplus before tax. This is right. Okay, the equation එක මන් දීලා ඇති. මේ area එක the equation එක තමයි මොකද්ද? Price received by seller. මොනත් ඔයගොල්ලෝ equilibrium price කියන එක මතක තියාගන්න එපා. Equilibrium price කියන එක වැරදි නැහැ. හැබැයි ඒක හැමතැනම පාවිච්චි කරන්න බෑ. But I gave you this as price received by seller minus minimum supply price into supply quantity divided by 2. Okay. The next one, producer surplus after tax, right? Whenever and value producer surplus after tax. Send me the answer. Yes, correct, Isuni. Mandara, correct. Diana, correct. Shara, correct. Yes, 160. That's this area. And remember, producer surplus after tax, this area. Right? You might feel producer surplus after tax is this area. Even some teachers give this mistakenly. This is not. Remember, even though market price is 12, but producer doesn't receive 12. Producer receive only 8 rupee. So producer surplus depends on the price received by seller. Hari? Isa may area එක නෙමෙයි මේ area එකේ එකම answer එක තමයි ලැබෙන්නේ හැබැයි මේක වැරදි. ඔක නෙවෙයි නිවැරදි area එක. නිවැරදි area එක මෙන්න මේ area එක. Why? Because producer receive finally 8 rupee. Producer surplus depends on what the price received by seller. The answer is 160. So the next one, change in consumer surplus. අපි මේ කෙලින්ම ගමු. එන area එක. මාක් කරන change in consumer surplus area එක. This is change in consumer surplus. Mark this area. Change in consumer surplus. අපි මේ area එක මෙන්න මෙහෙම හොයමු. Simply you can divide this into two parts. මෙතනින් වෙන් කරොත් මේ පේනවද ඔයගලන්ට? You can get the rectangular separated, triangular separated. So you can get the answer how 2 into 80 is the rectangular. එකට අපි add කරනවා 2 into 80. That's a rectangular. So to this we add the triangular area. Triangular area is 2 into 20. 2 into 20 over 2. That's a triangular area. right? අපි මේ rectangular area එකයි triangular area එක වෙනම add කරනවා. 2 into 80 plus 2 into 20 over 2. 2 into 80, 160 plus 20, 180. Now 60, 180. හරිනේ? Right. So this mark the area and show this.
Sir, can't we find like this consumer surplus before tax and after tax minus?
You can do it here, but for that purpose, graph should be perfectly done using equations, right? That method is also correct, but here I think graph is not properly balanced with the equations. That method also can be used. If we draw the graph,
160 is coming, sir.
that's
140.
right, that's right. Here this graph I have done roughly, not with the proper scales and all, right? If you do the graph with the proper scales, and definitely both should be same, right? You can start with දැනට මේ method එක පාවිච්චි, but your method is correct, remember. When we do calculations, I will show you both methods, right? Method is correct, but here the graph is not done with the scales. නිසා පොඩි gap එකක් ඉන්න පුළුවන්. අපි දැනට මේ ක්‍රමේ පාවිච්චි කරමු. But when you do calculations, I will show you both methods. Okay.
Okay, sir.
For the moment, write down this method, which is 180. Then the next one is a change in producer surplus. Change in producer surplus, also this area. This is change in producer surplus. ගත්ත අපි එහෙම ගමු. කොහමද? 2 into 80. 2 into 80 plus the triangular area. Remember 2 into 80 can a rectangular area. Two into 80 will add කරන්න triangular area එක 2 into 20 over 2. Then 160 plus 20 rupees 180. Okay. Right. Then government tax revenue. Can find the area and send me the answer. Government tax revenue. How much of the money where the government can earn totally? Totally. Yes, Amit correct. Isuni correct. Diana correct. Yes, 320, which is this area. 4 into 80. This area is a government tax income. Right, mark this area and show the calculation. 4 into 80, that's 320. Then the net welfare loss. Okay, using the equation, can you calculate it? The triangular area is this. Area is this. Mark this area. Net welfare loss. And I gave an equation. Using the equation, can you do the calculation? Yes, Madara, correct. Diana, correct. Amit, okay. This one, okay. Right, yes, 40. 4 is unit tax into change in equilibrium quantity 20 divided by 2, that's 40. Right. So shall we continue another half an hour around to complete the unit 2, that consumer surplus part? Can you all wait? Can, right? Right. Take the unit 2 to complete consumer surplus. There are a few diagrams to be drawn there. Unit 2, second tute. We have to do, I think we did give me a second. Page number. I think we did page number. Page number 30 we have done, right? Jamila, 30 we have done, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. And page number 32. Page number 32. Did you 27 to 27 we have done. 27 are remaining? No. $27? Page number 27 අපි කරන්නේ නැද්ද කරානේ? We did. Market equilibrium, disequilibrium we didn't do. I thought I did consumer surplus. We did that part. You may be absent. So last day I did consumer surplus and produces. Amit, is it true?
Sorry, sir.
Amit, have you done page number 30 in unit 2 second tute?
30. Yes, sir. 30
Yes, we
done.
have done. That's a last day lesson I did because I wanted to do consumer surplus basic idea and come to unit number 3. Right? And again in page number 32. Page number 32, have you drawn a table there? Summarized table?
No, sir.
No. Right. That means we have done only page number 30.
Yes, sir.
We have to do page number 31, 32, 33, and 34, isn't it?
And also 27 and 29.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. 27 we have done now.
No, sir.
27 excess demand, excess supply we did.
Sir, we did only excess demand curve that part. We didn't go up to excess supply.
I see. Okay. That means page number 27 we have to do.
Yes, sir. And also 29.
Sorry. 27 we have done, isn't it? Or not?
No, sir. 27 we have done.
Okay. 26 we have done.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Right. Then come back to page number 27. No, let me see. Page number 27. Excess supply. So we discussed basically excess demand, excess supply. We need to draw the graph there. Right, look at here. Excess, if the price is P naught, there is no excess demand or supply. The price increase to P2, there's an excess supply, right? You can see here. The price is further increasing, excess supply further increasing on. So the excess supply increases to ES2. Then you can see price and excess supply has a positive relationship. We can present it separately in a diagram like this. Price and excess supply. Right? When the price increases, excess supply increases, it's like this. So this is the excess supply curve, which shows a positive relationship between price and excess supply. Right. Draw this in page number 27 on the top space. Page number 27 on the top space. Excess supply curve in topic again. Adina graphic. But I can repeat it to remember that we have done this part. Anyway, no issue. We'll do it. And Jamila, have we done page number 35? Jamila, have we done page number 35, 36, 37? You're not there. Diana, have we done page number 35, 36? Change in market equilibrium?
Yes, sir.
All right, okay, okay. Right, then write the note there after the graph. Write down. Excess supply curve presents. Excess supply curve presents. Excess supply curve presents. The positive relationship between price and excess supply. Excess supply is zero. Excess supply is zero at P1. Within bracket, equilibrium price. At P1 within bracket, equilibrium price. Excess supply increases to ES1. ES1 when the price increases to P2. Excess supply further increases to ES2. When the price increases to P3. This means there is a positive relationship between price and excess supply. Price and excess supply. There's a positive relationship between price and excess supply. Right, okay. Now look at. Now we got excess demand curve and excess supply curve like this. Excess demand curve negatively sloped with the price. Excess supply curve positively sloped with the price. If you expand these two, it comes like this. Excess supply curve comes like this, right? If you expand this to the negative side. And excess demand curve comes like this. Like this, assume you are given a diagram like this with excess demand and excess supply curve. You can see excess demand and excess supply curve cross to each other at the equilibrium. right? So at the equilibrium price, excess demand equals excess supply, and they are zero, right? So this is an alternative method to present equilibrium price, where excess demand equal excess supply equal zero at the equilibrium price. Right, draw this diagram in the space below. Right, that's how we can get excess demand, excess supply graphically. Now let's see how to get these equations for these excess demand and excess supply curves. Okay, right, look at this example. You are given demand equation 10 minus 2p, and you are given supply equation minus 14 plus 4p. You are supposed to find excess demand curve and excess supply curve equations. Excess demand equation and excess supply equation. Look at here. Excess demand equals QD minus QS. So what do? You deduct the supply equation from the demand equation. So then you write it QD 10 minus 2p minus 14 plus 4p. Right? You subtract supply equation from the demand equation. Then when you solve this equation, you get 10 minus 2p minus into plus 14 minus plus into minus 4p. So excess demand equals 24 minus 6p. So this is excess demand equation. Right, go to next page. Can you divide the space into 3 columns? 3 columns. The next page is a space. Divide the space into 3 columns. 3 columns, huh? And write down this part in the first column, this part. How to get excess demand curve. Excess demand curve එක හොයන විදිහ. Excess demand equation එක හොයන විදිහ. Right. Similarly, can you find excess supply equation? The second column, can you find excess supply equation? How do you do it? Excess supply equals QS minus QD, right? QS minus QD. Subtract demand equation from the supply equation and get an equation. What about next is supply equation ilang column එකේ? QS minus QD. And send me the answer. Amit, right, good, yes. Right, Diana, correct, good. This one is correct. Yeah, send answers are correct. So how do we get it? QS minus QD. QS minus 14 plus 4P minus 10 minus 2P. So when you solve this, minus 14 plus 4P minus 10 plus 2P, you get the answer minus 24 plus 6P, which is excess supply equation. Can you name them, please? Previous equation, can you name it as excess demand equation? This one, can you name it as excess supply equation? Excess supply equation to nam karaganda. Right, then Balamu. Now we have got excess demand equation and excess supply equation. So we see how to find equilibrium using this excess demand and excess supply equations. It's like this. You know, at the equilibrium, excess demand, excess supply, both are zero. So we can take either excess demand equation or excess supply equation. I got excess demand equation minus 24 plus 6P. And at the equilibrium, excess demand is zero. Right? So then when you solve this equation, 24 equals 6P, P equals 4. That's how we can find equilibrium price when you are given excess demand equation or excess supply equation. But remember, using excess demand equation, you can't find quantity, equilibrium quantity. To find equilibrium quantity, you need demand equation or supply equation. If the price is 4, I apply it to demand equation, QD equals 10 minus 2 into 4. So equilibrium quantity is 2. Right? That's how we calculate equilibrium price and quantity using excess demand, excess supply equations. Right, write down all of these in last column, third column, all of these. Right. Then that's the equation method. Then we'll go for the schedule. You see how to find excess demand, excess supply using the schedule. Here you can see you are given two values in each case, this and this. You are supposed to find excess demand and excess supply. Equation is there. Right? Abhitamu, look at this one. The second one, you are given QD and you are given excess demand. So you can find QS. Hari, the QD dila thina metin QD method apply kara. Excess demand method apply kara. Itra QS ena. Right? Excess demand equation එක ගන්න. Excess demand equals QD minus QS. එතකොට excess demand දීලා තියෙනවා. QD දීලා තියෙනවා. ඒක QS හොයාගන්න පුළුවන්. හරි. Can you fill this answers A box එකේම ලියන්න. Calculation එක box එකේම ලියන්න මේ විදියට. Right? මේ විදිහට ලියන්න. දැන් අපි පරණ එක ගත්තොත් මේ excess demand නේ 200 minus 100. එහෙම ලියන්න. මේ column එකේ ලියන්න. එතන 300. නමන්ට point එකක් කියන්න පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්න. ඔයගොල්ලෝ බලන්න අර අපි ඉස්සෙල්ලා ගත්ත excess demand excess supply equation එක දිහා පොඩ්ඩක්. We got excess demand equation we got 24 minus 6p. Excess supply equation we got as how? Minus 24 plus 6p. Can you find some sort of relationship between these two? Each another exactly opposite. Right? Excess demand excess demand plus 10 now. Excess supply minus 10. Minus 10. Right? අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම opposite again inverse. Plus minus. එහෙනම් ඒ අනුව ඔයගලන් table එක fill කරන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් මෙතන අපිට ආව excess demand 200 minus 100 නේ. එතකොට plus 300 නේ. එහෙනම් excess supply, no doubt excess supply is minus 300. හරි. මේ method එකත් පාවිච්චි කරලා fill කරන්න බලන්න table එක සම්පූර්ණයි. Last row එක calculate කරන්නේ trend එකට. අන්න values වෙනස් වෙන විදිය බලලා last row එක ගන්න. අනිත් ටික equations පාවිච්චි කරලා පළවෙනි rows 4 equations එක පාවිච්චි කරලා Right, okay. Can you check the answers? The green color ones you have to fill. Complete the table, Madara, based on check whether your answers are correct. Last one, you go to the trend. Look at QD 200, 150, 50 because these are linear curves. So then next value will be 0. 200, 150, 50, 100, 50, 0 like this. Minus 100, minus 50, 0, 50, then 100. Right. That's how we can get excess demand, excess supply schedule. Right. Now we got graphical method, excess demand, excess supply. We got equation method, excess demand, excess supply. Then we got the schedule, excess demand, excess supply. Now, we'll see what happens in the market when there's an excess demand and excess supply. Look at here. Assume price is P naught. We know when the price is P naught, there's an excess demand. That means people demand the good. But the products are not available in the market. Supply quantity is only Q naught. Right? So people demand more than what the market has. When the people demand more and more goods, the goods are not available in the market. What happens next? What do sellers do? The sellers know that now people are demanding this good. Then sellers, what do? They increase price up to P1. Still people demanding this good more. Still there's an excess demand. And they further increase price up to P2. Right? Now when it comes to P2, you can see there's no excess. Now can the sellers increase price further? They can't. That price එක වැඩි වෙලා P2 වලින් නවතිනවා. එතනින් කාට වැඩි වෙන්නේ නැහැ තාම. වැඩි කරන්න බෑ. So keep remember well, excess demand will not continue. There can be an excess demand in a market, but not permanently. In the long run, market is always in equilibrium. If there is an excess demand is removed by the market itself. Right. draw this diagram in the next page. First diagram. The topic is there. Example 1, right? Example 1. Draw this diagram. Page number 29, first space. Right. Now we'll see what happens when there's an excess supply in the market. Assume there's a market where there are a large number of goods, but people buy less. Now sellers want to sell their products. දැන් දැකලා සමහර කාලේ අපේ රටේ ඔය එක එක බාණ්ඩ සමහර කාලේට මාළු නේද? අර මාළු විකුණුම් කරලා 4-5 දෙනෙක් යනවා එකපාරේ. අය එක්කෙනෙක් රුපියල් 1000 කියනවා, අනිත් එක්කෙනා 900 කියනවා, අනිත් එක්කෙනා 800යි කියනවා. Because in some period fish production is too much high when the climate conditions are better. Regular price එක අඩු කරනවා. Because they want to sell their products. Price එක අඩු කරනවා. Still there is an excess supply. Still they can't sell. They further reduce price up to P1. Now at P1 they can sell their productions. So therefore keep remember well, excess supply also will not continue. There can be an excess supply in short run, but not in long run. In long run, market will run only at equilibrium. Excess supply will be removed by the market itself. Right. Next diagram. Same page. Draw this. Sorry. Right. Okay. We'll stop for today. Next week also, I will take additional half an hour to complete consumer surplus and producer surplus part there. Please be on alert. If I can start the class little early, I will do. If not, after the class, will take about half an hour. Right. See all. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.